Shane, good to see you, mate.
Hey, good to see you. Yeah.
Yeah, so last time we chatted, it was at a meetup in Wellington.
Yep.
Data engineering meetup over there. And, you know, as usual, went across the road for a couple of brewskis, which seems to be the tradition over there, which is great. And since then, you've relocated to London.
To the UK, yep. We're down in
UK,
Somerset at the moment. And then when we get back, assuming we're not snowed in, we'll be moving into Dorset.
Yeah, so you're the founder of Agile Data. You've written a book on the information product canvas.
Yep.
So, you know, you've run a podcast. You've been in data for a very short while, something like 35 years.
I think I'm almost getting to my 4th decade, but yeah. I try not to tell people that.
Yeah, exactly. No, totally get it. Get it. So this has kind of come to its fulcrum in the, your information product canvas. How's your reception to that? And tell us a little bit about how you got into that and writing a book and the process.
Yeah, so I suppose I've gone through, like you said, different kind of careers, but always in data.
Yeah.
And so one of the ones I kind of stumbled across was getting to this idea of merging agile practices or patterns with data for data teams. And as I was working with more and more data teams, kind of identified that there's lots of work where we can use agile patterns in the design and build phase, but actually the requirements gathering was a major problem. And so I was lucky enough to work with some really talented teams where we just started working on this idea of a information product brief. So it started out being a document, and we ended up getting just sections of the document that made sense. And then during that journey, I'd stumbled across the Business Canvas Model book. And loved it, right? It was just a great template that we could use to define the business model for an organization. So with the customer I was working with at the time, we started experimenting with using that Canvas format for the information product requirements. And it just worked. It's one of these weird things that it just fitted, right? I mean, it's been iterated for well over 10 years now, just refining what went where. And so based on the fact that I could drop into a team, I could teach them how to use it and then watch them use it and change the way they worked, I just decided that I always had an itch to write a book, and so I had to decide what to write it on. I went through a bit of a process for that, and the Canvas came out as probably the best first book to write, so that's what I did.
Yeah, no, awesome. I know you've got another book in the works, but we can talk about that in a bit. But so I guess, with the information product canvas, I guess the whole idea is that it's a tool to help the business and the data teams interface together. And as you've experienced like rolling this tool out, what are the aha moments that you commonly see, and like that, demonstrates like the effectiveness of this tool?
Yeah, and so for me, it's a template, not a tool. And that's really important because when I use the word tool, people think technology, and there's no technology involved, right? It can be a PowerPoint, it can be a PDF template. It's really low tech to use it. And what it gives is a shared language. And so what I see is when teams pick it up, it's really interesting watching the journey of teams. So every team's different, the context of the organization, their stakeholders, the way the team works. But I see some patterns in the way the adoption happens for them. And so the first one is the data team, when they've got a completed Canvas template, they pick up on the why. Yeah. So in the Canvas, they can see enough detail to understand what they need to build.
Yeah.
But they're getting now the information that they've never been given, which is why do we have to build it? Yeah. So the actions and outcomes and the value that this product will deliver for the stakeholders gets given to them, and they've never had that before. And that actually is one of the things that kind of opens their eyes. The second thing that happens with this is because it is such an easy way to gather information requirements, and I kind of joke about stakeholders loving it, but they don't hate it. They will come to a workshop to fill out a canvas with the data team, and we get to a stage where the stakeholders start just bringing the canvas completed. So they'll just go, well, actually, I can just fill it out in advance, and then we can. That actually causes a problem because the value of the process is the conversation, not the completed template. So a stakeholder turning up to your desk or a Zoom call, dropping the template and running away, right? That degrades the value of the process, which is that collaboration. But really interesting when they just start doing it. And then the third one is when the team gets empowered through the Canvas process to say no.
Yep.
So they go, actually, you know what? We've got 10 things we could build. And from what we can tell based on the actions and the outcomes, the value of those other 9 things are higher to the organization than what you've asked for. So we're not building it. And that now empowers a team from being a data request team to a team that solves problems for the organization and delivers value. So kind of see those 3 things happen as teams mature using the Canvas.
Yep, sounds great. And you talk about like teams having fun, while they're doing their thing. What does that look like in practice? What do you mean by that?
So I suppose the easiest way to describe it is the anti-pattern, right? When they're not having fun. And that looks like a team getting a JIRA ticket, telling them to build something. Yeah? Because I know people, engineers love to code, but they're not being engaged to solve a business problem. They're turned into a factory. From a product thinking point of view, we used to call it a feature factory, right? Just build another feature. So when the teams are empowered to say, hey, this organization that I work for has some problems, we can harness data to give information to solve those problems, and they get to engage that way, that changes the way they work.
Yeah, because I guess that sort of leads on to like questions about AI. We're in 2026. We see that just your ability to code probably is not going to cut it anymore. How do you see the tools that you've developed helping teams to sort of transition in this new world where I guess we're having to be a lot more than just like a pipeline builder, for instance?
So when the team start using something like the Canvas, it's forcing them to engage with the business, the stakeholders, and have those conversations. So it's actually increasing their brand, right? So they're not just a faceless team or an AI sitting behind a JIRA request, taking that text and supposedly getting an LLM to generate code that actually answers those business questions. And that's the first part of it, is it takes us back to what we had 10 or 20 years ago when we had business analysts. Back in the days where we had, data warehousing that was more on-prem and data warehousing teams, not data engineering teams. We used to always have business analysis skills in the team or next to the team. And that was all around, how do we look at the business processes? How do we actually make them better? And so by picking up something like the Canvas, we're bringing those skills back into the team and letting them do that work. Now, it's actually quite easy to get LLMs or Gen AI to do that work. I can record a conversation with a stakeholder and I can get an LLM to generate the Canvas. I can get an LLM to take the Canvas and generate a data model. But I'm not doing that in a collaborative way. I have no feedback loop. So I don't know when I've got right to the end and delivered that product back to that stakeholder, have I actually solved the problem? Because at each stage of that, I'm losing the feedback loop from the stakeholder because I'm not talking to them. And I think it's going to be really interesting to see where that human feedback loop comes into the LLM process, especially with data people.
There's one thing's for sure, there's going to be a lot of transition. So you've made the move to the UK. How are you finding the data community over there? And how does it compare to sunny old Wellington?
So the challenge has been, effectively when we get back from Austin, it's been 3 months. And it has been a complete cluster of the process of moving. I've travelled a lot, but I've never moved countries. And actually the admin, just the drossy, the number of times I've had to present my identity documents in different ways to do simple things that I already had in New Zealand has flabbergasted me. And if anybody wants to do a startup that solves that problem, please do that. And so I haven't really had time to engage in the data community. What I have been doing though is trying to build connections. So because I lived in Wellington for so long and because I was so engaged in the community there, I had lots of relationships and I I'd started building relationships globally before we moved, and that was quite a conscious decision. But I don't have the same strong relationships in the UK.
Yeah.
So what I've been doing is reaching out to lots of people and just saying, hey, I kind of want to get into the data community because I love that engagement with people. I find that when I talk to people, I kind of fill my glass up, and that's important to me. And so what I've been asking them is, which meetups do they love going to? And what's interesting is I don't get any good answers.
Interesting.
It's like people say, oh, I go to this one, it's okay, and actually there's no strong meetups. Now, pre-COVID in Wellington, we had a really good data meetup scene.
Yeah.
And I know, you're doing lots of work now to kind of bring that back. And so I'm kind of wondering, maybe in the UK there was a strong meetup scene pre-COVID and it's kind of died, or maybe just because of the way the country's distributed and the fact that I'm not going to be based in London, maybe they've never had the type of data community I was used to in Wellington. So ask me next year.
yeah, for sure. Well, good luck with it all. I know it's always a lot of work moving countries, isn't it? It seems a lot more simple than it actually is in practice. Finally, I wanted to ask you, what's the vibe like at Data Day Texas so far? I know the conference hasn't started. We're on Friday at the moment, but we had that low-key data meetup and a few conversations today. How's it been for you? Yeah,
so it's been really, really interesting in that there's been a lot of conversations and stuff before the conference.
Yeah.
And that's been unusual for me. And so, normally you go to the conference, you see the people you meet some people you don't, but it's all within that window of conference. And for Data Day Texas, the conference is actually Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
And we kind of arrived on Tuesday night just to have a look around Austin, and not a city I've been to before. But what's interesting is there is actually a community of people that get together and chat and talk before it starts. And I'm not sure whether that's just because I'm part of things like the Practical Data community on Discord, and that's a very active community here in the US, or whether that's just the way Data Day Texas has worked, or is it because it's an American conference? So that's been the kind of intriguing thing for me, is the kind of build-up has been way more active than turn up to a conference at 9 a.m, drink shitty coffee, listen to a whole lot of presentations, watch yourself get beaten up by vendors, and try and hide from them, drink too much that night for the free vendor beers, and then go home with a hangover. So I'm enjoying it so far, but again, ask me Sunday night.
Well, it's been a pleasure, Shane.
No, it's good.
Really great to see you. All the very best with your move to the UK.
Thank you.
Cheers.